As a kid growing up in the valley, Akron was just a city over on the hill. I was born after the rubber factories had shut down, and I only ever thought of it as a city that struggled, one that didn't have anything going for it anymore. Except for trips to Quaker Square when I was very young, or the occasional Luigi's Fix, we never came downtown. We didn't avoid it per se, we just didn't really see a reason to come here. It wasn't until I came to the University of Akron to study anthropology and archaeology that I got to know this city. But I got to know it in a way that most people don't, by looking at its garbage and its ruins. I worked with the university's community archaeology program at Akron's First Cemetery, the Hauer House, Old Bookdale Hall, and the Schumacher Cascade Mill site. The Akron I knew best was the Akron of the past. I studied archaeology partially because I wanted to use it as a means to leave Akron and see the world. But the more I learned about its past, the more I respected the city. After graduating, I worked at the Summit County Historical Society and loved having the opportunity to share the city's story with others. But to be honest, I was disappointed with what Akron had become, and I couldn't see past its flaws. Of course, every Akron story has to have some tires in it, right? One evening, my husband came home from work and said that the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company wanted to assign him to their European R&D facility for a few years. It had been a dream of ours to leave Akron and live abroad, so we jumped at the chance. In the fall of 2011, we sold our house and cars and relocated to Luxembourg. Just before we left, I bought a camera. At first, I just wanted to capture our personal experiences, but as time passed, my interest became more outward than inward. I began pointing the camera towards the landscape, the cities, the people, and the events going on around us. Another reason I studied archaeology was because I love to share stories. Now I was learning that photography was another way to do that. A 3-year assignment turned into nearly 6, and we moved to a small village in Germany about halfway through. While my husband was managing projects for Volkswagen and BMW, I was diligently pursuing my photography education. In 2015, I opened an online gallery and business. The camera became my primary way of interacting with the world around me, the way I told the story of what we were seeing and experiencing. We traveled around Europe as much as we could, from Iceland to Italy, from Hungary to Spain. Our vacations turned into photo trips in pursuits of moments like this one, when everything comes together to tell a story. There wasn't anything remarkable about that particular street, but when a Franciscan friar rode past on his bike and the sunlight hit just right, it became a classic Roman scene. I learned that a photograph could be more than just a flat image, and that it could render a feeling in the viewer. How I saw and perceived the subject was just as important as what it was. Of course, I was drawn to places that I personally found interesting. For example, I've always thought of castles as mysterious, so when I had a chance to photograph them, I wanted to translate those feelings of mystery with the image I created. When possible, I want my images to show movement and represent the passage of time, so those who see them can feel what it's like to be there. When we traveled to Norway, countless waterfalls like this one gave me opportunities to create images with more impact than a simple snapshot of a finite moment. Pictures like these appear more alive and, I hope, expand upon the story of the location. I pushed myself to create more complex images like this one showing the movements of boats in Venice, but with the moon locked in place. I wanted to illustrate Venice the way I saw it, trapped in time yet very much alive. Photographs have the power to tell a story in a unique way without words. The photographer begins the tale by creating the image, and then the viewer is free to finish it with their interpretation of that image. Sometimes a photograph is the only way a story can be told. Did you know that only the most brilliant and rare displays of the aurora can be seen with the naked eye? In fact, only a camera can reveal the scope and full color range of this particular phenomenon. The more I traveled and photographed, the more I realized how powerful photographic art really is. It could show us things we didn't even realize were there. One of our favorite places to visit was Ghent in Flemish Belgium. It's a city past its prime, even shabby. It's a manufacturing city with silent factories, weeds growing out of rooftops, broken roads, stagnant canals, a large university, and a very vibrant art and music scene. Sound familiar? I found Ghent to be gorgeous, not despite the decay, but because of it. That got me thinking. Before, I had always approached the past with an academic eye, but my experiences of visiting archaeological and historic sites in Europe as a photographer made me see them very differently, as places that stimulate wonder and fascination for the past. One of my goals became creating images that inspired others to not only visit, but learn more, and in doing so, grow to cherish these places. My time in Europe taught me that failures are a part of every city's story. In fact, they have to be. Plus, those years learning to see as a photographer made me compulsively seek out beauty wherever I went. When we would come back to Akron to visit, I realized I saw it completely differently. Its beauty would immediately reveal itself, and I no longer viewed its defects as disappointments. To me, they were accounts of Akron's complex tale. Before we left, all I saw was an Akron that didn't seem to live up to its past, a past I was very proud of, but now I can see the strengths and beauty in Akron's present, because that is what photographers look for. I even see that beauty in Akron's ruins. Archaeology taught me that ruins can tell the story of a place. Photography taught me that images of ruins can create a desire for people to hear that story. For example, I knew this location very well as a member of the team from the university that surveyed and excavated the Schumacher Cascade Mill site before the park was built. Today, returning here as a photographer, I recognize it as a location from which to create a visual representation of our city's early history. The once all-important canal was superseded by the arrival of the railroad. After moving back to Akron this summer, I noticed that others are viewing this differently too. They honor its past, but see even more potential in Akron's present and its future. A talented group of civic-minded community members and artists are using their vision and gifts on projects that build the city up for the citizens, such as long-overlooked Lot 2 Park being transformed into a more dynamic space. And that is motivating. I've learned that photographs can be powerful things. They can fascinate and inspire us, tell a story without words, enhance the beauty of a place, and show us things we didn't even realize were there. They even change our minds. So I asked myself, why not photograph Akron the same way I did German castles, Irish ruins, the Scandinavian countryside, or the cities of Ghent, Venice, and Rome? Well, there's no reason not to, so that is exactly what I'm going to do. I've cared about Akron ever since I started digging up its garbage. Without it, I wouldn't be who I am, my husband and I wouldn't have met, and we never would have had those years abroad. Without that experience, I would still have that limited vision that prevented me from really understanding and loving my city. The road I've traveled has led me to see Akron, a place I'm now proud to call my hometown, as if I'm seeing it for the first time. I didn't expect that to happen any more than I expected it to lead me to photography. Now that I'm home, I hope to use this new perspective to create and share images of the city that highlight its beauty, tell its story, fascinate, and hopefully inspire. Thank you.